What are you willing to do to have the life that you want to have? And the answer was no excuses, just results.
When did you think that your journey and your path is to help others?
When I look at life today, what I've come to realize it's I've just turned my pain into purpose, my trauma into triumph. I've become the hero of my own story because I was willing to do the difficult thing and look at myself in the mirror and fight the dragon in front of me.
What does the idea Think Unbroken mean to you?
I know what it's like, most importantly, to look at myself and love myself over everything. Bro, take the money, take the fame, take the celebrity, take the books, take the podcast, take the coach, take it all, because I will still love myself. And that's what being unbroken is.
Hi, and welcome to Common Denominator, a podcast about growth, mindset, and entrepreneurship. I'm Moshe Popack, and today we chat with Michael Anthony. Michael is the founder of Think Unbroken, a movement where he helps fellow childhood trauma survivors break free of self-doubt, heal, and become the hero of their own story. Michael's childhood was brutal, but through incredible courage, mindset, and hard work, he's the happiest and healthiest he's ever been. And his work has helped hundreds of people feel the same. His story is truly incredible. I hope you enjoy this deeply meaningful and inspirational conversation as much as I did. Hi, Michael, and welcome to Common Denominator.
What's up, dude? I'm excited to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Originally thinking about your childhood and your story, I think that's, I guess, a good way to start, and maybe you could tell it in your own voice, kind of like your background and things that you've been through as a child.
Yeah, for sure. And, look, man, here's what I always like to say is, my story is mine alone. And I would really encourage people to not compare their shit to mine because we grew up in two different environments and different paths. And one of the things people will say to me a lot is, my story is not as bad as yours, right? That's pointless. It doesn't matter because, like, I don't live for you. I haven't lived your life. So I always like to create that context up front. I grew up in Indianapolis in the 80s, 90s. My mother was a drug addict and alcoholic. She actually cut off my right index finger when I was 4 years old. Multiple surgeries, multiple skin grafts. It's discolored. I'm missing half of it. Married my stepdad, who was super abusive. This guy's 6'4", 220, beating up a 7-year-old, real coward of a man. Spent most of my childhood homeless and deeply in poverty. We lived with over 30 different families between 8 to 12. My mom's in and out of rehab, in and out of getting locked up, all kinds of craziness. And I actually get adopted by my grandmother when I was 12, which in a lot of ways is a godsend, right? But I'm biracial, black and white, and my grandma's an old racist white lady from a town in Tennessee you never heard of. Right. I mean, we're talking about she had a copy of Mein Kampf on our kitchen table, like some real crazy stuff. And, I did what I think a lot of people do at that age under those circumstances in that environment is I found ways to numb myself. And so at 12 years old, I start getting high, smoking weed, popping pills. 13, I'm getting drunk. Got expelled from 2 different schools for fighting, selling drugs, getting into trouble. And I got tossed into this last chance program that worked until it didn't, ended up getting kicked out. And, at 18 years old, I was working at a warehouse job where I was like putting microchips into motherboards all day long. Like a freaking monkey could do this job. You know what I mean? And I had gotten kicked out of summer school too, out of this last chance. And I'm just like looking at my life, like, I just got fired from this job that literally anyone could do. I have no high school diploma. I'm probably going to go to prison like half of my friends and my family, or I'm going to die. I need to do something different here. And I kind of just made this declaration to myself. I was like, by the time I'm 21, I want to make $100,000 a year. Because in my head, I thought money was the solution to poverty, homelessness, abuse, all of the chaos of the life that I'd grown up in. And sure enough, I went down that path at 20, right as I'm about to turn 21. I landed a job with a Fortune 10 company. No high school diploma, no college education. This is almost impossible. And I cashed my first check for 10 grand the month I turned 21. Fast forward a few years, and by the time I'm 26, dude, I'd made almost $1 million. But I was 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs a day, drinking myself to sleep. I was high from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed. I'm cheating on my girlfriend. My little brother won't talk to me. Car gets repoed, and I'm $50,000 in debt. And that was really kind of this whirlwind that started to surround me very quickly, where it was like, you know what you're doing in life. I don't want to be dismissive that I didn't have like some inclination of my own behaviors. But it all came to a head pretty heavily one Saturday morning. I'm laying in bed. Now, dude, keep in mind, I'm 350 freaking pounds.
Mm.
I'm smoking a joint, eating chocolate cake, and watching the CrossFit games. It's like, what is happening in my life right now? And for whatever reason, I pulled myself up out of that bed, went in the bathroom, was looking at myself in the mirror, and I remember being 8 years old. And the water company had come and turned off our water. But man, this happened all the time. The heat, the water, the electricity, we were getting evicted. I mean, it's just like a Tuesday in my childhood, dude. And I go in the backyard, I grab this little blue bucket, walk across the street to our neighbor's house, and for the first time, I stole water. And I remember being like, when I'm a grown up, this will not be my life. And on paper, it wasn't my life in a lot of ways, but all the decisions, all the actions, the lifestyle I was living, my physicality, my mental, it was all informed by that experience. And as I was looking in the mirror, and I don't know where this came from. I mean, to this day, I don't know why. And it's still written on my mirror to this day in my bathroom. If I go in there right now, there's a question. What are you willing to do to have the life that you want to have? And the answer was no excuses, just results.
Mm.
And that single moment 14 years ago has brought me here with you today.
What was that process when you now all of a sudden you're like, you want results? That means that you have to actually change your habits, your rituals, and your day to day. So, what was that first thing that you decided to do after that point?
Yeah, I want to make it's a great question, but I want to say this because I think it's very important. I don't think you can mitigate the rock bottom to create change. And the reason why I'm going to say this is now, dude, I have coached thousands of people over the years. Millions of people have listened to my show. I've interviewed the greatest minds in mental health: Dr. Gabor Mate, Dr. Caroline Leaf, Judd Brewer, Meryl Bouquet, Tom Bilyeu, David Meltzer. I mean, bro, I've interviewed we all agree. You got to get to the point in your life where you're tired of your own shit.
Mm.
And until that moment happens, you're not going to do anything about it. And as much, because here the thing is, dude, here's what's really interesting. My thesis when I started my podcast is, if I can mitigate the rock bottom moment, people can change their life sooner.
Mm. Right.
It's literally the same thing that you're talking about. That's why I started the show, because I was like, man, I feel like if I could help people save the suffering of 5 panic attacks, getting dumped by your girlfriend you've been with forever, your brother's not talking to you, $50,000 in debt, being morbidly obese. If I can mitigate that risk through this show, that would be amazing.
Mm.
We're almost 800 episodes in, and I haven't figured out that solution.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so my hope is that we continue to plant seeds like this, but ultimately, people have got to get to that moment of looking at their life where they refuse to continue to accept the reality, which leads me to the answer of your question. The very first thing that I did is I stopped being a liar.
Mm.
The hardest thing ever, dude. And here's the thing, what's interesting too, if you would have been like, hey, if you want to change your fucking life, stop lying, and then you told me the consequences of honesty, I don't know if I would have done it.
Yeah.
I really don't. There was so much truth to be told, so much to honor, so much to like lay out on the line, so many wrongs to right for myself, for my family, for the people, for everything that I touched. And what's really interesting about that is that you always hear the truth will set you free. It's honestly probably the most accurate statement ever created in the history of the world. I went from 5 panic attacks a day and hiding every secret you can possibly imagine to freedom. Now that took time, of course, but I had to have a lot of conversations where I had to tell people the truth. But here's the thing, man, you got to look at it like this. People who grow up like I grew up, and it's a lot of us, dude. Like there's research around like the ACE survey that says 83% of people have adverse childhood experiences, right? I'd argue the number is really higher. And so when you understand the data, you kind of look at it and you think to yourself, all right, well, what happens to children in traumatic and dangerous environments? Well, they go into survival mode. What's a big part of survival mode? Well, self-preservation. Well, how do people in these environments, how do children in these environments preserve themselves? Generally, they have to lose their autonomy, right? And the reason they have to lose their autonomy is because every time they say, this is my want, this is my need, this is my boundary, this is my whatever, there's some kind of ramification that comes with it. And so you learn how to stop being yourself. You learn how to stop showing up as you. You become a chameleon. And what does a chameleon do? They adapt. Well, what if adaptation is you learn to lie as a survival mechanism? Well, you go to school and you're in class, and Miss Smith comes up to you and she's like, hey, you want to talk about these bruises? Oh, they're from football practice. Hey, do you want to talk about why you've been wearing the same clothes for 4 days? Oh, it's the washing machine's broke. Police come to your house. Do you want to talk about what happened just now? Oh, it was nothing. And here's what's crazy, like that serves you. It sure serves you in your teens, serves you in your 20s, it serves you. For some people, it serves them for their whole life until they recognize that it doesn't. And when it doesn't, that's when life gets really interesting because two things are going to happen. And this is what happened to me. One, you're going to have to become accountable for your decisions.
Yeah.
That's what's really difficult about this. Like, you're not culpable for the things that happened to you as a kid. Like, that's not on you. But the accountability that I had to face was looking at myself and asking a really simple question, like, what role am I playing in this? I didn't get obese by accident. I didn't destroy my finances without knowing that I'm spending $500 on dinners. I didn't do all the things that I'd done without some acknowledgement. But it was about the full ownership of it that changed my life. And then the other side of it was that I had to sit across from the people that I had wronged and tell them the truth. And I lost a lot of people in that process, a lot of friends, a lot of community, partners, girlfriends, business associates.
I
But
always
it was
love
the
that.
thing that set me free.
In AA meetings, and I almost bought a drug and alcohol rehab. I've said this on the show before, and I sat in on the meetings, and I said, what an interesting world would be if the entire world was like this meeting in the conversation, meaning raw truth. You like it, you don't like it. The world is not easy. This is the way it is. And I'm in the middle of writing my book, and one of the chapters came to me that every human should have a mentor or somebody that they trust that keeps you accountable to your word, like your truth. That's the whole thing, right? Someone, right? I'm sure that in your journey, after you made your decision after that mirror moment, either you seeked out or you found at least one person, that said, you know what, Mike, you got to do this. The good days, at least definitely in the beginning, for sure. It must have been that way.
So at the very beginning, one, I started to tell the truth in therapy. Like, dude, I was going and paying this guy hundreds of dollars a week and just fucking lying to him. Right. But again, that was self-preservation. That was autonomic at that point. It was built into my nervous system. You know more about me in 8 minutes than people who knew me for 27 years. Right. Now, of course, this is a very public forum. There are things I never share publicly. They're too dark. But what happened is the more I got honest in therapy, the more my life started to change. But what was really, really interesting was, so I'm dead, dude. I am dead broke. I'm borrowing money from my girlfriend who lives with me, by the way, to pay our rent.
Mm.
That's how broke I am. The business that I was running was failing. I couldn't seem to figure out how to get things working at the time. I was spending all this money on this healing journey. And one day I see this ad for this Brendan Burchard course. And Brendan is the high performance coach. He's very, very famous in my circle. And it was like $50. And I remember looking down, I had a pair of $350 Jordans on my feet, right? And this was 13 years ago. So that's like $800 today. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at these shoes and I'm like, dude, you care about your shoes more than you care about yourself. And I took literally the last bit of credit on that card and I bought that course. That course did not change my life, mind you. Let's be clear about that. But what it did, it taught me that it was okay to invest in myself. Because see, the thing with the mentorship, what you just talked about, people expect everyone to give them shit for free because they have a story.
Mm.
Bro, nobody cares.
Mm.
And I'm not saying that out of anything but love for you. Nobody cares because they have their own thing happening. And the world doesn't owe you understanding. This is the thing that I learned that set me free. Because when I was being a victim and I was blaming the world, my family, my teachers, Obama, like it was everybody's fault. It was never Michael's fault. You know what I'm saying? And then what happened is I bought that course and I started to pick up some things. And then I bought the next one. And then I went to the events. And then I got one-on-one coaching and I got mentorship. And now I've been coached one-on-one from guys like Tom Bilyeu and David Meltzer and Grant Cardone, men who have built amazing empires and are changing the world. And dude, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on myself. I should have like 4 Ivy League degrees at this point. And all that has done for me is reinforce my ability to become the person I'm capable of being. And there are people who won't spend $10 on a book and they're like, why does my life suck? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you should look at your feet.
Yeah. I think about that. It seems like the country or the world is split. I don't know if exactly even, but you just hear it from people. It's either I'm going to be accountable or I'm going to be a victim. And again, it's ingrained in DNA, and they wonder why not good results happen. You know, it seems like the pendulum is swinging more towards people realizing like maybe I can't be a victim. Because to your point, the world doesn't really care because in reality, everyone is just trying to survive. Everyone's just trying to survive, take care of, themselves and the people around them. People will call it selfish, but everybody is that way. They're born alone. We leave alone. It's just the way, the framework of things that we can't control. Right? This is just what it is. But I do love the fact that you made a choice to invest in yourself because I think that that's the best thing that you can do. I've had a life coach for 13 years now. And in the end of the day is you have to become the best in you, the version of you. Right?
Yeah. Here's what I think is really interesting. Because there are people who look at like what I do and they're like, why would you ever have a life coach? That's so stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like I get that question sometimes. And I'm like, the reason why is because I don't know about you, but I didn't get any guidebook for working through life. There's no handbook. And the only thing that I ever think about is like, is there somebody who has done the thing that I am trying to do that can shortcut the suffering to get there? And the suffering is just the discomfort of the learning and the like the in like all of the space of the uncomfortable growth. And it's the same reason I have a coach, man. I'm telling you, there's no way I'm here with you right now if I didn't have a coach. So I love that you've had one for 13 years. In fact, I tell people all the time, if I go back in time to when I was 25 years old, I would have fired my therapist and I would have hired a coach.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I needed that most people need They need behavioral changes. They need habit changes. They need to build confidence. They need to let go of self-doubt. They need to understand their own roadblocks and why they self-sabotage. But most importantly, they need to sit across from somebody that goes, "You didn't do what you said you were going to do."
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think about therapy, it could be there's an automatic conflict of interest. The longer because they'll keep you there forever, and
Dude, they will.
all you're doing, the way it works is that the past, no matter who you are, you cannot change it. Also, sitting and worrying about the future, nobody knows what the future will be, right? It's only the best scenario is in the moment. And I talked about this with another guest, it's just about the habits. In the moment, day by day, what good habits you can build and hold yourself accountable to those good habits. That's the best you can do as a human, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you've interviewed, right? You said almost 800 people, the greatest brains, searching, looking, seeking, right? And this is what it is. It seems this is the highest level of where we can be.
Yeah. And the secret I've learned from that, and I think you might agree because you've interviewed a ton of people too, but the secret I've learned from that, and then the secrets that I've learned by being at the table with some of the most high performing people on planet Earth, mind you, is one thing: discipline.
Mm.
That's the one differentiator. And what that comes down to is instead of doing that thing that fucks your life up, why don't you do the thing that you don't want to do that makes your life better? And the more that you leverage discipline, and discipline isn't it feels like such a dirty word, right? But it's not. It's the word that is probably the most beneficial word that you can leverage in your life.
Mm.
It's like, and it doesn't have to be this get up at 4 a.m. shit. Like, that's so stupid, man. I'm not taking fucking ice baths. Get out of my face, dude. I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? But for me, it's like, did I do the work? Did I show up? Did I get on the podcast? Did I write the book? Did I coach the clients? Did I go to the gym? Did I eat well? Did I stay off the drugs? Did I stay away from the video games and porn? Did I do the things that make my life better? That's it. That's the whole game. If you can if you can forego instant gratification, which is the release of dopamine, really more so than anything because of the thing that you're doing, if you can learn how to forego that and understand that you're having a biological experience, it's unbelievable what you can accomplish. I interviewed Anna Lemke, who wrote a book called Dopamine Nation,
Mm.
and Anna is the leading researcher on dopamine and addiction in the world. And she points to it just as exactly how I am right now. It's like if you can forego that pleasure center that your brain is constantly seeking, which now is reinforced by fucking social media in such a dangerous way. It's reinforced in dating in such a dangerous way. It's reinforced in the things we buy in such a dangerous way. If you can learn that it's just a biological and biochemical experience that you're having in life, it's unbelievable what you can actually accomplish. But that's why they always say, like, knowing is half the battle, right?
Yeah, it's when did you think that your journey and your path is to help others? When did that like kind of light bulb? Like, so you're working on yourself, you're doing this, and then you just have this meaning and purpose, this drive to try to help other people. When did that clarity come?
When I was a kid, I only ever had one nickname, and that was Coach.
Hmm.
Like even as a child, I was a captain of the wrestling team, co-captain of the football team, baseball when I was eligible, mind you. And the only nickname I ever had was Coach. And because I was just like, man, I can see this thing in people, probably because I'm very empathetic,
Hmm.
and I'm an empath by nature. Even though I have intensity, right? It's just because I want to pull the best out of people. And when I was like 29, 30, 31, I was just blogging. I'm a writer first, right? And so I'm writing and I'm blogging and I'm sharing all these things. No intention of this ever. You asked me at 30, would I be doing this at almost 39? Like, hell no, that sounds crazy. I don't want to touch that. But somebody just kept asking me, hey, will you help me? And I was like, no. I say,
Mm.
absolutely not. I will not help you. And then they were adamant. And then next thing you know, boom, it's thousands of people have gone through my programs over the years, millions of downloads on the podcast, tens of thousands of books sold. And what I came to realize is that you have to, if you're willing, because this is climbing Mount Everest. I've built
Mm.
other businesses in my life. This is way more difficult than selling something people don't need because people would rather be the victim. Like, truthfully, that's what it is. But man, the people who come into my programs, yo, their lives are completely different on the day they decide to walk away. Because I don't want people in my shit forever. I'm like, get out of here, man. Go do your thing. Let's get you to where you need to be. And so when I look at life today, what I've come to realize it's I've just turned my pain into purpose, my trauma into triumph. I've become the hero of my own story because I was willing to do the difficult thing and look at myself in the mirror and fight the dragon in front of me. And I've got to see the impact that it's made on my brothers and my sister, which probably pushes me more than anything. And I've get to see the impact that it's had on my life. Like, dude, I'm not sitting here 350 pounds, chain smoking cigarettes, getting drunk. You know what I mean? Like I'm changing the fucking world, like literally.
Yeah.
And I think that changing the world doesn't always have to be this. I mean, if somebody feels the call to go and be of service, it's like, dude, the soup kitchen always needs help. If I'm in a place mentally and I'm like feeling some kind of way about something, dude, I go to the Las Vegas rescue mission. And I promise you it gets me right again. Right? Because I was the same guy who sat in those seats as a kid and had to get the meal off the tray because there was a service. Right. And I think so frequently that what I get to do as a coach and as an author and a speaker is that I get to make my little mark in my mission of ending generational trauma.
Mm.
Breaking this cycle, it's a fucking buzzword, man. People are like they hype themselves up on social media breaking the cycle. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
What are you
It's
doing?
right. It's a
Most people aren't doing shit.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of but there is a swing. I was thinking about this in the youth. Let's say 16 to 24 of like the discipline, going to the gym. They're talking about it. They're talking about it. I don't know if it's gonna swing that way, but there's conversation like that. I hope so. I hope that that people will take their pain and turn that around, because it's either pain or pleasure that motivates the human. It's one of the two,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
So the pain is a greater motivator if you're going to choose to be organized with it and calculate with it and drive towards goals, short and long-term goals through it. Bottom line, right? What does the idea "think unbroken" mean to you? What does that What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you think about a lot of people have gone through the worst experiences that a human can go through, people label them as fucked up or a loser or broken, and I just don't see the world that way, man. You pointed to it, like we are all humans.
Mm.
Like I'm not better or worse than you. I don't live a right or wrong life any more so than you do. Just like you, I am figuring it out on a daily basis. But I made a momentous shift in my life where I made the decision to not allow myself to be a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
You can only be a victim of circumstance if you choose to be. And I know people are going, you don't know my life. Bro, I get it. I stole food to survive. I lived in the streets. My three childhood best friends have been murdered. I've been in handcuffs. I've done things I don't even want to talk about because they're so illegal. I'll probably go to jail even today, right? I know what it's like to be dead broke. And I can tell you this, I know what it's like to fly first class. I know what it's like to fly private. I know what it's like to eat at the finest restaurants in the world. I know what it's like to not have to worry about the insecurity of money. I know what it's like, most importantly, to look at myself and love myself over everything. Bro, take the money, take the fame, take the celebrity, take the books, take the podcast, take the coach, take it all. I don't give a fuck
Fine.
because I will still love myself.
Yeah.
And that's what being unbroken is.
That's the freedom. The freedom is the ultimate. nothing to lose. You only go if you actually act that way internally. You bring that out, and then you're free. It's the other
Yes.
side of the mountain, right? Mount Everest, you come back the other side.
Yeah.
That's what it is, because you see the truth. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. That's what
Yep.
it is, and that's the clarity, which I love. What is something you're grateful for?
This, man, this moment, because it's like, this is the only thing that matters. What do I mean by that? People get so caught up in the past and so stuck in the future that they forget about right now. And it's like nothing I said I can ever get back. Right? It's done. It's gone forever. And I have no idea what's going to happen in 5 seconds. And for me, gratitude is about being in this moment. I mean, it really is. I mean, I have gratitude for a lot of things in life. I mean, dude, I should be dead or in jail. I did the math on this once. There's a 0.0001% chance I should be here right now, alive, not in prison. You know what I mean? And so I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for the space to have a conversation that people don't want to have. You know, it's interesting because I had a business coach years ago tell me, don't go down this path. You're a great entrepreneur. You've built big businesses, seven-figure businesses. Don't go down this path because people don't want it. And I just think to myself every day, yeah, but if I don't, who's going to? And so having this moment to do this with you is my gratitude.
Appreciate that. And what's something about you that people don't know?
Everything. You know nothing about me. You know what I
Well,
mean? It's like,
it could be something light. It doesn't. It just has to be
no, I
something.
get the,
Yeah.
trust me, I get the question, but I mean, it's like the truth is like everything, man. I'm a human who has 60,000 thoughts a day, probably more because I'm a little neurotic, right? But like ultimately, I think the thing that people don't know about me is that at the end of the day, the only thing that matters to me is how I feel about myself. Like that's it. Like people see me on stages and the books and the podcasts like this, and they don't understand that it's actually about me, right?
You just
It
talk.
really is.
You're just talking to yourself. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's all I'm doing. When I'm yelling at the phone on the internet about something and you're like, why is he? It's because I'm dealing with something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I'm in the space of learning and having conversations like this, it's because this is about me.
Yeah.
It's about the
Truth.
person that I was and about the person that I want to become. And by proxy, I get to impact the world in this really beautiful way. And people will say that's selfish, but I'm like, what great art is not selfish?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, Michael. I really appreciate your story. I appreciate you sharing. How could people follow you on social, listen to your podcast, and learn more about you?
Yeah, thanks, man. This was a fun conversation. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere at Michael Unbroken, and you can just search Think Unbroken podcast.com or Think Unbroken wherever you listen to podcasts. And I do free coaching sessions with anyone, anytime, any place. If they just go to thinkunbroken.com, they can have one with me. I've done thousands of these over the years. So if you're in a place you need some guidance, thinkunbroken.com.
Yeah. And I love that you had the courage to go on your journey. What spoke to you? Most people don't do that. And when I see that, because it comes from the most painful places, and you go on that journey, you have no idea what it's going to look like, but you just go. So I appreciate it. When I see it, I know it. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Be
brother.
strong.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Michael. Next week, I'll talk with Nebia Boujadud. Nebia is a fitness and mindset coach who believes in a holistic approach to mental and physical health, and is a big believer in the 12 laws of the universe, including the law of action, the law of attraction, and the law of correspondence. We'll dive into that and discuss how to get unstuck when you're thinking of starting a business. If you're watching this show on Facebook or YouTube, we'd be grateful for a like, share, and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, feel free to leave a rating and review. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.